Over the ditch, back for another week. And anyone wondering why we're both smirking, he's giving me a little teaser of something that is going to come into today's show. But wrapped to have him back for another week. Matty Markham, hello.
G'day, Paul. How are you? Nice to see you again.
Good to see you. We did tease that we may have done a Cup Week one, but that didn't eventuate. Bit of a They tell me it was a pretty strong week.
It was a strong week. I was very well behaved for all of it, to be fair, which is a bit disappointing, but certainly enjoyed all the racing action across, the three meetings in Canterbury.
Yep.
And then obviously Winton on Sunday afternoon as well. So good to see the back end of another Cup week, because it's been a long build up, of course, as it is every single year. And there's a lot to digest and discuss, I suppose.
Yeah, there is. And we won't go through each race or runner by runners. We might do some highlights. And there's been some massive achievements, which I think have flown under the radar to some individuals. I think over this, I will say Johnny Turner's done an amazing job with the Southern News. I keep getting it mixed up. Southern News with Johnny Turner, is that what it's called?
Southern Harness with Johnny Turner.
Yeah. In some of those things, Nathan Williamson, Craigie Ferguson. There's been some terrific stories, and we will touch on those as well. Regan Todd's just been outstanding. But I might ask you, what's been your highlight? What was the highlight of just the 2 days of racing at Addington? We'll just simplify it a little bit. Not anything else outside of that. But what was your highlight of the whole carnival?
I'll probably surprise a few, given I'm quite a patriotic person. But the last 400 metres of the ascent would be my favourite part of Cup Week. Now, I say that because I remember being a young kid and seeing Christian Cullen in the flesh for the first time. I remember seeing Auckland Reactor. I remember seeing Lazarus. I remember seeing Mainland Banner. Those good horses just make you stand in awe. And to see Kiang Zahara in the flesh and to witness and listen to what I heard at the 400 metre mark when she was allowed a bit of rain and she just served it up to Tyrone Eros, the crowd started clapping, Paul.
Yep.
That far from home. And I was lucky enough to be sort of standing close enough to the fence at about the 100 metre mark. And when she went past, it was so cliche, but it was poetry in motion. She was just doing it so easily.
Right there, sorry, Matty, but right there was a funny. I'll actually scrub it back a little bit. When I was watching it live, I was like, "Oh, hello, Johnny's put the foot down," and might not have quite gone back far enough. She I don't know whether she put in a funny one. I just got to go back a bit further, and Johnny asks here, and there's sort of like that little bit of a quarter of a length, if you like, changeover, and you think, "Oh, hello," and then all of a sudden, Jason says, "I better just get back up alongside," and I'll let you go with the rest of it because it was brilliant.
Yeah, and I mean, it was about this point that the setting bowl at Addington, people just started roaring and clapping.
Yeah.
Because she's putting some pretty smart trotters to bed. Now, Tyrone Eros, how do I put this? He was a rogue in the prelim. He nearly pulled John Dunn's arms off and he had to pretty much drive him into the Clerk of the Courses horse to stop. Father Time's a very good horse. You've got Look to the Stars bursting through Empire City, Princess Sadie, Paramount Kiwi, etc. there. And let's be fair, she's made them all look second rate. I think the moment for me that I realised we were about to see something quite extraordinary was Greg O'Connor did an interview with Andy Gath during the day leading into Catch a Wave's appearance in the New Zealand Free-for-All. And he just happened to ask Andy about his opinion of Kiang Zahara. And I paraphrase a wee bit here, but it was something along the lines of, if she was in the New Zealand trotting free-for-all for the older horses, they might struggle to beat her. And I went, wow, from Andy, who knows, good trotters, obviously, very, very well. I thought that was a pretty glowing endorsement. And from that moment on, I just look forward to seeing her because, and from the moment she walked down on the track, those good horses, as I said before, you can tell that they've got something. And she certainly had something. And it was a bit of a privilege to be there probably and watch it, because I know that the league camp had felt a bit of pressure leading into it, because everyone was obviously talking her up, and she come over here with this incredible record, and you never do quite know how the two countries are going to correlate when they come together when it comes to horseflesh, and to see her come out and do that, just really special. And obviously we'll get at least one opportunity to see her in New Zealand for this time anyway, and hopefully it's not the last time, because she could have the trotting game at her mercy for however long she wants. I mean, Greg Sugars was quoted as saying, "I'm just pleased she's only a 3-year-old and Harry doesn't have to race her." So yeah, there you go. I mean, you can't get much more of a glowing endorsement than that, can you?
No, definitely not. And the rise of the trotters, Greg actually produced a 2-year-old on Breeders' Crown Night that we might touch on a bit later on. That was just breathtaking as well. They're just amazing. And I think anyone wants to understand how we can grow this industry, get on the trotters, because they are bringing this X factor, if you like, bet and win, just believe. These horses, they get on a roll, people start to follow them, and they have a uniqueness about them, if you like. They're not robots. They're not just wearing hobbles and going around. They do. Tyrone Eros, they have quirks, but Tyrone Eros on his day, when he doesn't have those quirks, he's sensational. And he's worth going to the races just to see which one's going to turn up in the prelim, isn't he? So
he is, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I was lucky enough. I saw her win the New South Wales Oaks. I don't know at what start it was. I'll try and have a look at it in a sec. But and I saw her and I thought, geez, that's a nice horse. And they were saying how nice she was. And she fronts up a week later and she beats almost the same field of fillies because the boys couldn't keep up. And you're like, holy dolly, this thing is serious. And you start telling people how serious this horse is. And until you physically see her, you don't actually appreciate what she actually does. Like, I've probably watched her live half a dozen times, and I just love it. Just to be able to sit there and watch her and and witness her. She is very, very unique and such a brilliant filly.
Yeah, watching good horses is something that's always pretty special, and to see them live and in action and in the flesh is even better. And we did get to see a few of those last week, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. I'll keep looking her form up because, of course, she's won 2 derbies. She's not going to stay for the New Zealand derby. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it's still up in the air at the moment. They're just looking potentially at the Oaks first, and then maybe. I mean, you hear there's not that much time between the 2 races.
Yep.
She'll win both of them.
Yep.
We've got no doubt about that. So that may change. I mean, Empire City and Princess Sadie and those ones were the best of the chasing pack behind. So you could argue that the Oaks might be harder to win than the Derby, but that's not going to be the case because we know that's never the case. So, I'd love to see her stick around, but ultimately they've got this incredible horse that they want to look after. And if they decide that one extra race is too much, then that's their prerogative, and all credit to them.
It is interesting now, though. The Great Square moves next year, which has changed the way a lot of people look at what's going on, and it has actually now gone to the end of the next year. Is when it's about now is when they're programming it. I believe if it stays that way, they did get a little bit of flack because they've given, this is Racing Queensland, they're giving the Rising Star a golden ticket into the Inter-Dominion next year, and we'll touch on that in a sec, what it changes as well. Why didn't they give the Great Square? But the Great Square is a 3- and 4-year-old trot race, so that probably is one of those things where the Rising Sun is a 4-year-old race, so that puts a 4-year-old into the Inter-Dominion. But yeah, at the minute anyway, it's not to the end of the season. There's not a lot else around for 4-year-olds, especially now Breeders' Crown's gone. It's only really the Vic Breds, which they're 2 months ago, so you got 10 months still to wait.
I can probably get behind that decision to shift that race because it will get lost in the middle of that carnival now, I think, with what's going on. And, you've got ultimate driver competitions, you've got Inter-Dominions, you're going to have probably the biggest contingent of Kiwi horses I think we've seen at Queensland coming over, just talking to a few trainers and owners over the past week that are quite keen to be there and take part in it. So, you want to still have it, given the significance that it's brought upon itself in the last couple of years since it was introduced, in a spot where it still gets that same recognition. And perhaps at the current time of year, given what's moving to Queensland, it's probably going to get lost in the mist somewhere along the way. So I can kind of understand that decision. And as you say, you probably couldn't have a golden ticket for a 3-year-old that wins the Great Square into the Inter-Dominion. So that's probably why that works better with the Rising Sun as opposed to the trotting race. But there's no reason why you couldn't put a trotting race on that carries a golden ticket as well. So there are plenty of options there available, Paul. So it'll be interesting to see how it all unfolds.
Throw your hypothetical. If you put the Great Square now, how many horses go to the Dominion and how many horses go to the Great Square?
That's it.
Would Kiang Zahara go to the Dominion knowing that she can travel to New Zealand?
Yeah.
And it's going to have more prize money. So, that's the other curveball that you get. Flip side of that is it gives someone else an opportunity. So, yeah. I will tell any of my New Zealand friends, go and watch. If you want to watch a race, go and watch. It must be that one there, September 14, when she won the Victorian Sires Stakes for 3-year-olds. Making sure that's the right race. Yeah, that's it. She picked up 50,000. Watch the drive on Nathan Jack. He wins. He runs second on a horse called Violet Stanford, and people say it was a 12 out of 10 drive, and he just got beat by this filly. It was one of the best races you will see. But to be able to be there and see that. So yeah, she's won 2 derbies. She's won 2 Oaks so far. And the opportunity is there for a lot more. So she's an exciting horse and a horse I think the entire industry will get behind. And I reckon for the Kiwis, mate, the greatest thing is she's handled the trip. She's excelled. She knows the conditions. The Lees don't travel a lot, but all of a sudden they've worked out, well, shit, we can go to New Zealand. So that's exciting for our racing product, full stop.
Yeah, and we've just got to up our game a bit because at the moment our trotters are behind. So it's going to be interesting to see over the next 12 months how some of those up-and-coming trotters develop and, mould into better racehorses. And they're going to need to if we're going to keep seeing, the RC Phoenixes and the Just Believes and the Kiang Zaharas and whatever else you pull out of obscurity in the next 6 months and throw at us. The Road Cup's not all that far away. No. Now that we start thinking about it, we get on the other side of Cup Week. So, it's going to be an interesting little period of harness racing in Australasia, I think, just with some calendar shifts and those sort of things.
There's a couple of races at Melton on Saturday night for any of the trotting lovers to go back and have a watch. I've got to go back a bit. The first one was Valtino. He won the first heat of the Breeders' Crown. He's a big bull for the Fitzpatricks. He's a by Love You, but he's a horse. He'll just get better and better. He was awesome winning there. And then, as I said there, Greg and Jess produced a horse called On Chauffeur. He's had 3 starts now. He won his first. He hasn't actually. That was his first win because he dead heated the other day from memory. He did. He dead heated at Bendigo in the heat of the Breeders' Crown. Just trying to get it up, but he's only had the 3 starts. He's bred from. He's by Readily Express. Won a pack Driscoll's breed. We know what they can do, and he was just out. Oh, he's by Volstead, sorry. On Chauffeur, and he's only had 3 starts. Go and watch it. He just was a magic in winning there. Tell a lie, he's had 6 starts, 4 for Greg and Jess, and that was his 3rd win. So, he won Anton Galino and Nathan Jack combined to win his first start. He ran 2nd in the Nutrient final. But then, he won the Breeders' Crown the other day. He was 3rd in the Redwood, was outstanding. But, it was probably as good as I've seen him. Exciting horse. He's a lad, though, Matty. If he comes to New Zealand, you guys are going to know he's in the shed, I tell you, because he's a big boy who says, look at me. But, the trotters are outstanding. Mufasa Metro, a horse I was just looking at then, ran 2nd in the Inter-Dominion last year. He gets his chance this year with the Inter-Dominion with a few scratchings as well. So, bred by the Kirkwoods, of course, a New Zealand-bred horse. So, don't worry, you Kiwis are still going pretty good.
Oh, yeah, we're going all right. Here's a question for you, though. Why didn't Greg drive it?
Because he wasn't coming home. And so James Herbertson had to make a decision. So because he wasn't coming home, Greg said to him, well, you can keep the drive in the final. And
that's right. I was more worried that Jess had been looking at the credit card bill from Greg's spending while he was over here and decided she needed to punish him a wee bit. So that makes better sense.
Was he shouting tea?
No. Just the New Zealand lifestyle, Paul. You know what it's like.
Yeah, I do. I unfortunately missed it, but I love it. Say on, Greg. Lost his helmet. Forgot his helmet too. He didn't like the fact that I knew that one. But one of the Markhams have to come to the rescue. You're not bad, you blokes, are you?
Yeah, little brother Red, as they call him. He works at Purden Racing. he was sort of the strapper of I Can Do's it and Smolder there for a while when he was there a long time ago, and he's been in a couple of stables since then. But he was on the meet and greet job, I think he called it, on Tuesday, where he was meeting the horses not only from Mark and Nathan's team, but Barry and Scott's and whoever else was staying there back at the stables and getting them all sorted, and then getting the next lot ready to be picked up, etc., etc. And got a phone call from Nathan Purdon asking what he was up to at the moment and whether he could do a dash into Addington because a certain Australian driver had left his helmet behind before the Dominion Handicap. So I think there was a mad dash and probably some speed records broken, but they got there in the end. So he played his part, and I'm sure he made Greg buy him a beer for it as well.
I had Greg on Loose Lines last night, and I actually suggested I mentioned something about leaving it behind. He wasn't sure how I found out, but Jess filled me in. She put a cryptic little thing on Instagram, but then she did fill me in when I asked the question. So yeah, and well done. He's outstanding. Just believe you and I could wax on about him forever, but he's a champion. I do not want to compare him with any horse. He is just a champion in his own right. He is the best horse we've got currently at the minute. And I think the two people, the farm, if you like, Lara J Farm, Greg and Jess, how they conduct themselves, the owners, you don't hear about the owners. It's all about the horse. Everyone is so proactive, the horse. He's so good for our industry right at the minute. It's unbelievable, isn't he?
Oh, he's something special. Kirsten Green was telling a wee story from the Dominion last Tuesday that they got towards the end of the back straight the last time there, and Fiery Bandito was getting up on the nickel and starting to travel a wee bit, and Kirsten thought, gee, I'm going good here, and she looked to the inside, and here's Greg. He's barely holding on to the reins, and old Harry's just flopping along doing his thing, and then he picked them up, and he was gone. What a wonderful horse. And, you know, I think that was a pretty special moment to see because you could see in the post-race how much it meant to Greg to win that race. You know, he's won pretty much every major trotting race in Australasia and competed on the other side of the world. And to put winning the Dominion Handicap at Addington on Cup Day right up there with one of the greatest moments in his driving career. And I know Jess was at home, but I'm sure she was equally as chuffed, and she's always been fond of New Zealand and the racing over here. And just a real treat, I think. You know, obviously he couldn't do the double up on the Friday, but he lost no admirers with his valiant effort. He just gave them a trotting lesson on Tuesday is probably the best way to say it. But you are 100% right, because it's not just the horse. I think the package that comes with Harry and Greg and Jess is what helps make the story even better, because they are so affable, they are so willing and great for marketing the sport and passionate, and they speak well, etc. So, you know, we're very lucky. We've got quite a few people in the industry that are very good at that. You know, I use guys like Zachary Butcher over here and the like that are great promotional marketing tools. And when we've talked about it a few times, Paul, we've just got to keep tapping into these guys. And I know it must annoy the heck out of them sometimes when they get text messages and Facebook messages and whatever, asking if they'll, you know, spare a couple of minutes. But without them, the whole lead up and post stuff just doesn't really have that same feel to it, I think. So pretty special.
Yeah, and one of the questions I did ask him last night is that you know, he knew about the Dominion. He knew what sort of race it was, the history behind it. That's why he wanted to win it, because Lyell Creek won it. Yeah, and if he said if we're going to be compared to horses like that, we need to be able to win races on that same sort of platform. And I just asked him, I said, did it exceed what you're expecting? And he said yes. He said it was much bigger than what he was expecting. Whether that was because it was on the Tuesday and not the Friday, who knows, and go from there. An interesting one for you, Matty, that I was looking at. We've got to get on the Swayze and those horses in a minute, which is another outstanding effort. But just a little teaser on that. Now that the Dominion's gone to the Friday and it's a 3,200-metre race, and you go to the short on the Friday, like, you know, it may be a lot harder to do now because you've had your tougher run 4 days out. Like, I know harness horses are 3 days out. Harness horses are so strong in that, but it'd be just interesting. We're not going to know for 10 years, but it just could be one of those feats that might become a little bit harder for a horse that, you know, does do all the work and does all the grinding.
We've seen a lot of horses, because obviously the pacing free-for-all in the Dominion Cup and free-for-all have been that way. It's not easy to win both.
No.
And it never has been. And it probably suits the older horses a little bit better because they can handle that back up a bit more. But, what we saw on Friday was we saw two horses that were beaten by considerable margins on the Tuesday come out and win the Group 1s on Friday. And Merlin and also Oscar Bonavina. So, it's an interesting one. Where it gets really interesting is where you bring horses that perhaps didn't race in those big races on the Tuesday into the mix. The Catcher Waves, the Muscle Mountains, etc., that just change the whole dynamic of a race. So, I like the way it sits. I feel like, and I'll be careful how I say this, but I feel like the Dominion this year lost a little bit of its gloss because it was on Cup Day.
Yep.
And because Cup Day is Cup Day, to me, Friday was Dominion Day. And that's going to take a bit of probably just adjusting to within one's own head more than anything, but we'll get there eventually. So I think it worked. Did it gain a greater appreciation from the 15,000 odd that were there at Addington? I don't know. But sure, still a special moment for everyone involved.
Yeah, no, it was indeed. And I think you got to tinker with these things, and we might touch on that at the end about how your thoughts on both meetings were going there. Swayze, you're a form student. You're a man, and I reckon you do an outstanding job. And I listen to you, and I say this not because you're on my show. I actually listen to what you say, and you back up what you say when you tip a horses and make suggestions, and you're a great person to follow. What was your thoughts when you heard this horse was going to be going to Young? One scribe I did hear said that it was at Forbes. Forbes and Young are a little way away, but it was actually at Young on a Friday night and then going to back up on the Tuesday in the New Zealand Trotting Cup. As a form student, what did you think initially? And then what did you think of his performance up post it?
Initially, I thought, well, that's a massive ask. But we've seen Jason Grimson over the years do things that are out of the ordinary.
Yep.
And achieve great results doing that out of the ordinary. And at the end of the day, Swayze owes Jason and all of his owners nothing. He's been a wonderful horse to them already. He's going to be a wonderful horse for them for probably another couple of years at least. They wouldn't have done it if they thought the horse was going to be put in jeopardy in any way.
Yep.
So while I probably had some hesitations about the travel schedule in the back of my head, I couldn't even tell you what time on Tuesday. I just happened to be in the stables as he arrived. Swayze had no worries from that moment on. That horse was so alert, looked out of this world sensational. The difference, I don't know. I had to rack back through my brain, but the difference in the way he held his presence this year compared to last year, even just down in the stables, was different.
Yep.
There was just something about him, and there was a lot of trackside coverage that was cutting back to him throughout the day in the barn, and he just looked magnificent, and he looked spot on. You can tell when a horse looks tired or anything like that. He was alert, he was bright, shiny, and from that point on, I was just, it's going to take something pretty special to beat him, given the fact that he's got his record in the race. He's got arguably one of the best drivers in Australasia at the moment, Cameron Hart sitting behind him, and Jason pulling the strings for him in the background. Well, it's just a winning combination all round.
Yeah. Grego kind of said it must have been the prelims when he was doing it, what do we look for? We want the ears forward. And again, trackside's coverage over the whole week was outstanding. And I love the fact they went into the stables so much and caught up with other people as well. But he said if the ears are pricked forward, it's a great sign. And Greg goes, so there's your great sign, because he actually, it was so well done. You can't rehearse that, because if the horse doesn't put his ears forward, well, he doesn't do it. But it was just brilliant that, and Greg said, he said in the coverage, he said that's what they were looking for. So he's on song, he's ready to go, and proved it. So did you think he could come back against Mark's horse?
Yeah, for a couple of reasons, because obviously we saw him sort of come back against Dakota a year before, And to me, the Akuta of 12 months ago is better than the Don't Stop Dreaming we've got now. Now, that's just now. I think Don't Stop Dreaming is going to get better. And he had probably the lightest of preparations compared to some of the runners in the Cup. But you could just sort of see that Blair was driving for one little sharp burst to try and get him. And momentarily, I thought he did have him. But then whether Cameron's half foxing or I'm not sure, or Swayze's just got this hurt locker deep that he can reach into to pull himself out and lift himself up and keep driving to the line, because he's got shades of flashing red about him, the way he lifts himself up off the canvas, but it's more impressive than flashing red, if that makes sense. Because flashing red was just an out and out stayer, whereas Swayze's got the speed as well as the staying prowess. That quarter down the back that Cameron put into them was electric, and that's what effectively won him the race, because it put all those horses that were probably still in contention to maybe get close to him outside of Don't Stop Dreaming and Merlin. It just took them out of the race. And to be able to maintain that up the straight, I mean, 55-2 at the end of a 3,200 metre race, it's low flying.
Yeah.
Especially when you would expect they're probably running home in 28, 29 at the end of that. But he was cruising. Phenomenal horse. And I hope he's back next year to try and make it 3 and join Indianapolis and Terra de Love and False Step.
Yep. It's interesting too, because I don't know if a lot of the Kiwis are aware, but he's actually live chance of $1 million bonus, Harness Racing New South Wales. And that's one of the reasons that they said no to the Inter-Dominion was because, to the New Zealand and the Inter-Dominion, was because they're more worried about this $1 million bonus. So not only is, I think all the cups are 60,000 too. Like, it's not like he's running around for, $10,000 races and then into $1 million bonus on top. So it's a big commitment from him to bring him across, because there is that there now. But that's obviously what has happened. The Beaten Brigade, Matty, Don't Stop Dreaming, I thought was good. Republican Party, outstanding. Yes.
Very good. Sorry, I thought you were. He was super, absolutely super. And obviously, I haven't seen any reports to the contrary, but I believe he's still coming to your side of the Tasman.
He's out. He was out. He's out yesterday. So yeah,
it shows how I've buried my head in the sand from the weekend after just to have a day off. I can counter that, and we'll get to that in a minute with a little bit of news. Merlin didn't see out the 3,200 metres. There's no doubt about that. I don't know if I'll go as far as to say it was the major factor, but it potentially might have been. We'll put it that way. And with all due respect to, obviously, Oliver. Better Eclipse was just Better Eclipse. Ran another solid race and a great race.
And he's a great horse. He like Greg and Jess could travel with him as alone anyway, and no one would begrudge him. Yet he's almost like the travelling foreman. He's just got one job there to do, and that's look after Just Believe. He doesn't only do that. Like, what do you pick up? $27,500 running fifth. Like, you'd love to own him.
And don't forget he ran second in the New Zealand Free for All on the Friday as well.
And
So
he was out of this world.
He's a great horse. You'd love a stable full of horses like him.
Yeah.
Then the runs in behind, Mwanga, massive.
You have to watch Mwanga's run, and even he just got checkered. He should have finished closer. He still got checkered paths and then even ran out of room on the line. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Well, these are our future horses, open classes. Mwanga, Tack McLeod, Franco Merrick.
Yep.
The latter of those two, both very, very, very good in the New Zealand Free for All on Friday.
Yep. Very,
very good. Now's the time that I can probably tell you Australia is going to get to see a lot more of one of them.
Which one?
Mark Jones has just messaged me and said they have paid the late nomination and Tack McLeod is coming to the Inter-Dominions.
Is Mark bringing him?
Mark is bringing him. He will be driven by Anthony Bart.
Wow. The old firm getting back to.
And I tell you what, having a look down that list of Inter-Dominion nominations, he is a serious contender to win it.
So Tack McLeod will be in Sydney. The late nomination.
In Sydney. They have paid the late nomination fee today. He is on his way. I think the flight is Monday.
Yep.
The thing about Tack McLeod that makes him the perfect horse, we saw it last week, how well he backs up.
Yep.
He was good in the cup sectionally, like as good as a horse can be without actually finishing in the top 6. His run in the free-for-all on Friday was out of this world good. And had he been a bit closer to them turning for home, he may well have gone close to winning it, looking at his sectionals. He will love the heats into a final setup. It's a big call, don't get me wrong. I think the late nomination fee is either 10 or 20k. It's not quite New Zealand Trotting Cup level that they paid with Swayze, but it makes sense because if he sticks around here, he's not eligible for the new 4-year-old race because he's 5, the Christian Cullen, which is at the end of the month. If he goes to the Invercargill Cup in December, there's every possibility he's going to have to take on Don't Stop Dreaming, Moanga, potentially even a horse like Chase a Dream.
Well, Republican Party probably goes.
Republican Party will go down there now. Why not have a throw at the stumps? Yeah, good.
And people need to be aware too that Leap to Fame's out. Like Leap to Fame's going because of the new schedule. What's happened here in Australia is they've announced a big 3-year deal with Queensland and they moved it to the Winter Carnival for the Inter-Dominion, 2 heats into a final. It's thrown a massive curveball for poor old New South Wales and this Inter-Dominion because Just Believe was going because he's one chance potentially of getting a 3-peat. He stays over there with the nicer weather through the summer, races over your summer carnival in Auckland and then flies home and gets ready for a winter carnival in Queensland. We know how much he loves it. So that's Rob. Better Eclipse is not going. Like Greg and Jess won't have a horse going there. You know, it's going to be very, very interesting how the New South Wales Inter-Dominion actually lines up.
And that's why I just think it's a really smart decision with Tech McLeod to come over. I think while it's probably a shame for this year's Inter-Dominion, I think I already feel like there's a sense of buzz around Queensland over here.
Well, it's over here too.
I think there's some people that are sitting down now and carving out their plans. I know one young trotter from New Zealand is likely to be coming to Queensland.
Yep.
Those sort of things. So we're moving into a good space where it works really well for those Kiwi horses to come to Queensland at that time of year and compete in the Inter-Dominion series because they're still home in time where they can have a bit of a break and then begin their cup preps towards Cup Week. So works well after the Auckland Carnival where you've got the Road Cup, etc., etc. So we're starting to see a bit of clarity in the calendar between the two countries, which is great, you know, because we want Just Believe, Leap to Fame, Swayze, Geing, Zahara, all these horses racing at all these good carnivals. But from a Trans-Tasman point of view, we want as many Kiwis going to Australia as many Australians coming to New Zealand so that we can really build it up back to what it felt like it used to be 20 years ago, or not even that long ago when the Inter-Dominion series were held. So, you know, that gives us Kiwis something to get behind and get us involved in this year's Inter-Dominion series with Tack McLeod.
Yep.
So I believe he will be staying with Sophia Arvidsson.
Okay, I was going to ask.
Yeah. So that was just from a brief conversation with Mark this afternoon. So, exciting news. And I'm sure McLeod's owners, Trevor Proctor and Diane Dines, will be pretty excited about it as well, as will the large travelling contingent that tend to follow him anywhere he goes.
I must say well done to those guys too for what they did leading into that too. Pretty stirring stuff. It was great. I'm going to get the guy. I know his last name was Ray, but I can't think of his first. It started with a D. You're in the same boat as me, but Don Ray, yeah. And he's got stage 4 cancer, and to give him that dream, I think it was just outstanding. And then you find out the backstory, how the horse got its name, and everything along those lines. It's pretty emotional stuff and terrific. Didn't come off. The fairy tale didn't come off, but who cares? The job they did for promoting the industry and being dead set great people as well. I think it's what harness racing is about.
Yeah, really special moment, and obviously there's a sad story attached to Tack McLeod as it is because he's named after young Charlotte, who lost her battle a few years ago. Her family, so Charlotte's mum and dad and her siblings and grandparents are all part of that wider Dines dynasty from down in Southland, and pretty special. Don, yeah, I've met Don once, I think, and he's most famous here in New Zealand because he appeared on a show called Mastermind, which I'm sure has screened in some Australian channels, not particularly the New Zealand one. But his specialist subject was the New Zealand Trotting Cup on Mastermind, and he nailed it from memory. I think he got every answer right. Yeah, so that was the first time I ever come across Don, was when he appeared on Mastermind with the specialist subject of the New Zealand Trotting Cup.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I didn't know they had that. Masterminds, it's an old show. I don't know if it still goes now, but it was here. Rightio. We'll try not to go for too long. We'll go through each of the races and just your brief thoughts, or as best as you can, brief thoughts. I don't care because there's never a worry at all. But She's a Gift was awesome. Great way to start off the carnival. Great race win. Ricky May for Williamson.
I'm going to try and give you a one-line answer for each race, Paul. Right. Love seeing Ricky May win races on Cup Week.
Awesome. There's a one-word answer. Dave Dooley, good luck with a one-line answer for this one.
Big run, horse to follow over the Country Cup season here in New Zealand.
And then to next year, nearly the way he was. He's a lovely horse, yeah. Julie Jacker, great story this for the Southlanders.
Yeah, Brett Gray's 300th training win too.
Yep.
I believe, that race. She's a super wee trotter, and she's got some great form around her, and we'll see a lot more of her going forward.
This will test you. I'll ask a couple of horses here. The Big Lebowski, Balski. He was good this time, so he's the Big Lebowski this time. He'll be the Big Lebowski on Friday's card.
He was monstrous winning on Tuesday, to be fair. And I've always thought he was a pretty smart horse, and I know Merv and Meg have as well, and they finally got to see it, so that was cool. He's
an enigma, isn't he, though, because he looked like he jumped out of his gear on Friday for no reason. I don't know if there was, but it looked like no reason.
No reason.
Yeah, he's got a lot of ability. Sooner the better. Your thoughts?
Yeah, he's just going okay. I did see that he was in the nominations for Auckland on Friday night, so he's obviously back up home, which means that he's not a contender for the new 4-year-old race that Christian Cullen, I would imagine.
Okay.
Because that's later on this month. So, yeah, he was good without being the second in a Miracle Mile behind Leap to Fame version of Sooner the Better. Ihoka Connor was super.
He's lost that little bit. Sooner the Better has lost that little bit of opportunist, if you like. He seems to be, I don't know, you know where he is in a race, and he seems to present but not quite get there. And anyway, he's a lovely horse. I'll touch on Catch a Wave on Fridays. We'll worry about that then. The Neville are for the 3-year-olds, Treacherous Baby, Duchess Megxit, and even Classic Elegance.
Wonderful training performance from Mark and Nathan, particularly Nathan Purdon. Really well summed up Drive Blair. Pretty even crop, to be fair. I think if Ruby Road had a draw and a trip, she would have smashed all of them. There you go.
Yep. And Louis' Girl that's ran 9th there. I watch it because I just love that horse. Again, what's it got beat? 6 lengths. It was outstanding. Had no luck at all. It was 10th on the fence or somebody thing, and just terrific. It was a really, really good. The Lazarus Effect. This is an interesting horse. This horse, progressive horse. I like that word.
Yeah, he's 2 from 2, and he could easily be 5 from 5. He's got a pretty serious motor. Yeah, Bob Budd actually got tipped out at the start on too. And he handled all that, despite it being Cup Day. His second ever appearance at the races, his driver getting tipped out at the start, stepped away, just demolished them. He's pretty smart. Obviously, potentially could be one of the better sons of Lazarus we've seen.
Yeah. The Dominion, was there anyone else that you, like we spoke about Just Believe, but anyone else in there? I thought RC Phoenix was good. He backed that up on Friday. The rest of them, I think Bet and Win, everything just got a bit too much on the occasion, and the draw didn't help.
Yeah, he's an interesting one, Bet and Win. Still a boy, obviously, but talking to Bob and watching the replay a few times, I actually still think he was going to run 4th or 5th before he galloped.
Yep.
And if he'd stayed down and got that far, we would have gone, he's gone super, because he's worked, things haven't gone right early, etc. he's having 6-7 weeks out in the paddock, and then we'll start the slow build up towards the Auckland Carnival, and then all going well, they are talking about obviously being in Queensland for the Inter-Dominions next year.
Got to realise how far that horse has gone too, because I'm going to say it's 11 months since he got balloted out of the Derby. Wasn't good enough to make a Derby field, so the selectors said, and I'm sure we're ripping a few scabs off the sister and brother-in-law, but yeah, it's an amazing effort to see how far he has come to be, what was his second, third favourite. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, you go back to, I'm trying to think whether it was April when he first came back this time in. Yeah, 18th of April. So he's won in 6 starts or 7 starts in this since April. He's won 6. Yep. The only flop was in the Dominion. So April he was a 3-win trotter, effectively. Yep. Now he's a 9-win trotter and shaping up to be pretty smart. And I think 12 months is going to be huge for him. Another 12 months and a year racing in that age group, that category, sorry.
Rakiro Rocket, Hadron Collider, and I'm sure this one hurts a little bit. Pin Seeker was just phenomenal, but it was a really cool race, 1 and 2 on the fence, and then Pin Seeker trying to circumnavigate the whole field. It was just a phenomenal run from him.
Yeah, it was. Rakiro Rocket's a very good horse, and we probably underestimate how good he is. He goes to the Timaru Cup on Saturday this week. He could end up being a cup horse next year, Rakiro Rocket, I think. He's got that good a motor on him. Hadron Collider, obviously, very good. Pin Seeker was superb, no doubt about it. 3-4 wide. He'll go to either and this is parallel universe sort of stuff, Paul. You'll love this. So on the Friday nights, the Christian Cullen, the new 4-year-old race that I've talked about a little bit. On Saturdays, the Geraldine Cup at Orari, where you were last year.
Which is where Pin Seeker won his first race.
He will be in either one of those races on that weekend, yet to be determined.
I was there there and saw him. So, yeah, that's chalk and cheese there a little bit, I must say. But anyway, that's all right. The Woodland Stud Sire Stakes final, Marketplace. This has probably been the horse of the carnival, I think, outside of the big guns.
Yeah, he's a super horse, isn't he? And he's got another Group 1 in a couple of weeks, the Ace of Spades coming up. So he could really cap off a pretty good year. Great for Regan, great for Craig. There's no doubt about it. They've really come in the last 18 months to 2 years as top flight horse people here in Canterbury, competing in Canterbury with good horses. Rubera was excellent. Demon Blue was good. But he's in a world of his own in that age group at the moment. So, it's going to take something pretty special to beat him, because let's not forget that he's done it from 9 twice in a row, the outside draw twice, and he's still been good enough.
What was it, 23-1 lead time?
Yeah.
Yeah, just absolutely phenomenal. That was Fergie's first Group 1 win too. So congratulations to him, which is a mighty achievement. There's been some pretty big achievements on this week. So I think well done to him. Well done to Regan Todd. We'll touch on Regan in a minute because he's had just a massive carnival. Sonny Louise, Fred Fletcher, Blair Orange was in rare form. It's fair to say that he was in a league of his own, really. The drive on this horse, what was he? 4 back the fence, managed to get it out wide. Just phenomenal run and a very nice horse, I think. I might be wrong, but I think it's a very nice horse.
Yeah, he's a nice horse. He's a consistent horse. When they're teaching how to drive a racehorse in schools or cadets or whatever they call them, that is the example of how you drive a horse over the last 1,000 metres of a race. Yep. Inch perfect from one of the best in the business, and I cannot believe he has not been given a spot in Ultimate Driver yet.
I know. Carter has. Carter's got a spot. We can say that one, but no Blair. There's a couple. Chris Alford, Australia's most winningest driver, hasn't got a spot either.
Well, I don't think Greg Sugars has got one either, to be fair with.
And I don't think there's that many spots left. I think there's only about 2 or 3 spots left. So
boggles my mind even more.
Yeah. The last race, again, Regan Todd, Boris O'Kane beat the 2 pair of Stephen Reed, or as he's affectionately known on your coverage over there, the Reed Man, or the man with the man bung. I like how Wales sort of keeps referring to him as the man with the man bun, just simply because Wales got a haircut like mine. So it's quite interesting. But this horse is another horse that just keeps stepping up, Boris O'Kane, and we will touch on him on Friday as well.
Yeah, he was super. He just can go beast mode when he wants to and just absolutely savage horses around him and break their hearts and then run away. Incredibly, given he's run a 155 mile rate home in 56.5, it wasn't his best performance of the week. The Friday one was just next level. Excuse the pun, given the horse that he beat on Tuesday.
Bazooka.
No, next level.
Oh, on Tuesday.
On Friday was next level. Excuse the pun of the horse that he beat on Tuesday. Come on, Paul, keep up.
I'll try. Oh, it's very hard to keep up with you. But you're going good here. I've got this. We got it to the last, which is not fair because there was so much more happening in this race. But this is just the last 400 of Friday. And Shree done an awesome job because he's not an easy horse to drive because she has to drive him so tough to put him into the field. But these two horses singled out, and I thought, oh, maybe that run the other day might take its toll. But he just got stronger towards the line, Matty.
Yeah, unbelievable performance. He was just absolutely crushing here, and it kind of signals that he might be a horse that in 12 months' time, given his staying prowess and his ability to just keep grinding, that he might actually end up sort of working his way up into a higher grade and taking on some better types of horse. So yeah, exciting horse, and they've done a wonderful job because he used to be a bit of a rogue.
Yeah, I gave it that, and he's not overly fashionably bred. He's by Sports Rider Sports Rider. But he's well bred. TriStar Brigade. I know she's definitely left something because there'll be something in the sales this year if I'm not careful. Parmesan, Roller Coaster, Boris O'Kane, Lenny Lincoln. No, I'm wrong. There must be something else. She must be out of something. Someone will tell me off, but I do know that she's quite a well-bred horse because she sold a couple at the yearling sales over the journey. But Sports Riders, no disrespect to them, they're not noted for their toughness.
She is a relation to Tri-Girl Brigade, who I think won maybe a Group 1, maybe.
Yep.
Tri-Girl Brigade is, if I remember rightly, the mother of Classy Brigade. Has done a very good job. Well, did a wonderful job for the Duns. So it is a good family. And she's obviously Boris O'Kane's mum is obviously part of that bloodline. So yeah, no, done a super job. Was originally with Bruce Negus.
Yep.
Before transferring to Regan Top.
It was just going outstanding. Fred Fletcher, he got a second win for the Carnival. How young is Fred Fletcher, mate?
Not young. I'm not going to guess, and I don't mean that to be mean to Fred.
It's just
so Fred is the grandfather of Sam Smolenski.
Right.
On the other side, not the Smolenski side.
Yeah, on the other side.
So then obviously that ties in there. Fred's always got a good team of trotters around him. Done a super job for a very, very long time, obviously. And his horses, they step out most weeks in those low-grade races, and great to see them pick up a couple on Cup Week because they've done a super job for a long time. George Elliott was massive in that. We'll just you want to talk about showing drives to young drivers. It only ran fourth, but Kimberly Butt's drive from the 800-metre mark on KD Royalty was very, very good too.
Just on that, Fred Fletcher actually stands Royal Aspirations, a very underrated staying too, does he not?
Yep. He raced Royal Aspirations. He trained Royal Aspirations. He stands at Phoebe.
Oh, okay.
Phoebe Stud Standardbreds, which is Grant Beckett's.
Yep.
Who also stands Habibdi Inter.
Did it have a winner too?
And Lockerburn.
Right. Habibdi Inter have a winner over the Carnival? I've seen a winner just recently. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We've got to try and stay on the straight and narrow if we can. Rightio, the Wataki, it's not the Macca Lodge, trainer south of the Wataki. Lyndon Boyd, this is a race they all want to win. Congratulations, Lyndon Boyd, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. Bondi does a great job with his team. He's always got horses around, and I know he likes to target this one with a couple of them. And beautiful drive from Sam Otley from a tricky barrier draw, and sort of took bad luck out of the equation. There was probably the biggest tragedy beaten of Cup Week in this race, and it was the 6 Ultimate Challenge. It never got to go up the straight, just never got to look in, charging all over them. Yeah, that's the least said about that because my pocket's still hurting from it. Fun fact about that horse, actually bred by Stacey White, Ultimate Challenge. And she is a 3/4 sister to Ultimate Machete and Ultimate Sniper.
Oh, is it? I assumed with the name it was by Machete, who's doing an awesome job. But
no, out of Ultimate Reality, Stacey and David leased the mare for a year, and they sold Ultimate Challenge as a weanling.
Wow.
There you go. Fun fact, what day of the week is it? Tuesday. Yeah.
Yep, all day too. IRT size stakes for the 2-year-old trotters. We talk about the depth in trotters. This bloke's going to be around for a while, meant to be. He's something special, isn't he?
Yeah, very, very good. Good bunch of trotters, actually, because the second horse is very good as well. Given he'd only had one race day appearance leading into this, I thought his run was sensational. Habibdi Pat was pretty good too. And probably should have mentioned it, Paul, Tuesday in particular, there were some runs that probably flattered to deceive a little bit. That win was pretty strong, and it was the same on Friday as well. Leading up was pretty tough. So yeah, meant to be. He's super, and he 3-year-old season's going to be his time. I think he's got a lot of growing up to do yet. And yeah,
potentially a new sponsor has officially come on board today. Not officially, but but unofficially, officially. How does that sound? So looking forward to promoting the Brecon Farms, which is going to be a tough job for me to do.
Ken?
Yep. I'll get on to him. Don't you worry about that. We need to make sure he gets one. I'm sure you had a lot of enjoyment with Commander Joe getting the chockies in race number 4, mate.
Yeah, got the pleasure of actually watching that race with Timmy White. Obviously, the heartbreak horse of Cup Week being Mickey Bennett ranged up to win on both days and threw it away. But you don't get rewards for bad behaviour. And Commander Joe was Johnny on the spot and ready to bounce. And he actually cleared away and won it quite well. Yeah. And there was a bit of confidence around the camp because he pulled up so well from Tuesday. Most people probably expected Kim to roll forward with him, but she decided not to and took a different approach and paid dividends. Great for, Brett and Tim. They've had a pretty tough last couple of months with the virus. Great for Kim. Great for Wendy Norquist, who is a great supporter of the industry, breeds a lot of horses, races a lot of horses. So for her to get a win on the biggest week of the year was pretty special as well.
What's the wash up with Mickey Bennett? Was there anything found, or
just a very, very naughty pony?
He was. It wasn't a great race for Telfers with Melody Banner actually doing a similar thing, jumping off gear out of the mobile and then up the top of the straight as well. So it wasn't a race to remember for Telfers, that's for sure. Boris O'Kane and Bazooka, we spoke on those. Radio, the free-for-all, the trotting free-for-all, we spoke about Just Believe. A few of these other horses, I thought RC Phoenix was good. What a marvel Oscar Bonavina is. He's just one of those horses you never ever want to write him off, do you?
Do you know what amazes me most about what Oscar Bonavina did? And Paul, please bear with me as I work my way through this. Growing up playing a bit of rugby and sport and stuff, there always used to be
a different twist.
There always used to be the conversation with rugby coaches on a Thursday night at training that the girlfriends were not to be invited over on a Friday night because it just left you a bit useless for a game on a Saturday afternoon. Guess what Oscar Bonavina did on Friday morning before he went to the races at Addington? Had a wee collection. So to all my old rugby coaches, you can go and get stuff. But that was pretty special because Oscar's been such a good horse for such a long time. And I put it on Twitter that we often, I feel like we undervalue just how good of a horse he is. And you could tell here that it was going to take something pretty special from A, Muscle Mountain, and B, Just Believe to hold him out.
Yep. Yeah, he's just chomping on the bit, Blair. And it's interesting, Blair didn't even want to roll off the bend at the turn. He just wanted to give him all of the straight just to settle in and go there. It looks like he's going to struggle, but eventually he gets there quite comfortably. And he's just, as I say, a phenomenal horse. The third and fourth horses were terrific. I actually thought RC Phoenix is going to get there. He was terrific. Muscle Mountain probably went too hard and then also needed the run, I would suggest.
Yeah, 100%. Tricky one for them, obviously, with the troubles that he's had, but he'll bounce back. He's a great horse, Muscle Mountain. Really deserving win. There'll be some horses that are going to drop back into lower grade races on Sundays in the next couple of weeks and going to pick one up. And I talk of the likes of Maui, who, while finishing 7th, actually probably ran one of the races of his life because he's run past Mighty Logan up the straight. You know, there'll be horses that'll come out and do super jobs in the next month, 2 months. But Oscar deserved that. I think that's his 3rd win in that race, off the top of my head. Yep, he's won. So he's won 3 of the last 4 now. And
one Dominion as well.
The way he's going, if he can get through to the Road Cup time or maybe even into Dominion time, who knows?
Yeah. And again, backs up Blair Orange's drive because it was just ridiculous. That's to say the least. The sire stakes for the 2-year-old fillies. I'm going to try and get the last couple of hundred meters of this because, as I said, Johnny Turner does some great jobs and getting the story out there. It doesn't want to play about this win, but Nathan Williamson, and I'm going to get it here where looks like he's in a wee bit of trouble for a little while, but terrific win and a filly with a lot of speed.
Yeah, she is. Beautifully bred filly, obviously, out of Imaginary Bet, which obviously traces back to one of our better families here, the ones with the me suffix at the end of their name. She had a bit of work to do around the last bit.
Yep.
I thought Stella Rouge had them beat, to be fair, and I would imagine Tim Williams thought exactly the same thing because he looked like he was jig-jogging at the quarter. But a really, really strong effort from Captain's Mistress to be able to knuckle down inside that last 100. Like, even here, you wouldn't have thought she was going to win. It was only there where she really started to flatten out and Stella Rouge sort of started to tire. And super performance, great for Nathan. He travels up a lot from Southland and he's got some wonderful horses in his barn. Very well deserving. Great run from Stella Rouge, obviously. Arafura was out of this world good and potentially could end up being the best filly in this age group, given she's only had 2 or 3 starts.
That's a second horse in the 3 wide train, but the problem is the 3 wide train just stops. Zach's horse, I think it was. It just I'm
Sandra D.
Yeah, just and gets in a way. And this filly, it was only 3 starts ago, where it looked like it threw a race away. But you can see Nathan's out and gone. He's spotting at 2 to 3 lengths, and still just struggling here. She has no right to get as close as what she did she?
No, she didn't. I don't think she knows how to be a racehorse yet. She's getting there. There's no doubt about that. She'll keep, and she will be probably an even better 3-year-old filly than what she is a 2-year-old filly. Put it that way.
Yeah. Well, that race, you're going to be able to tell me where it was, where she
Oamaru
it was. Yeah, you're right. And she threw it away. And I know talking to Mark Hughes from Woodlands, he thought she won it on protest. I said no, she was first horse past the post. It's just phenomenal run, and people should go back and have a watch of it. It's just ridiculous. Kiang Sahara, we touched on there. You covered off most of those other beaten brigade there. Dance Till Dawn, Johnny Dunn and Robert, Dad and Jenna, they had I suppose a mixed sort of carnival. They would have been wrapped to get one on the board, beating Amaretto Franco and Lasaka.
Yeah, good performance. Didn't see that one coming. Yeah. If you'd asked me for odds on either Mr. Kaplan, Princess Meritate, or Mantra Blue not running top 3 in that race, all 3 of them, I would have given you 1,000,000 to 1. The complexities of racing and the little intricacies that make things happen, they perhaps Mr. Kaplan was desperately unlucky, we'll put it that way. But Dance Till Dawn's a bit of an opportunist, got the beautiful run and was too good for them. Amaretto Franco was massive. She was 3 wide without cover. La Calsa, very, very consistent performer, and she's developing into quite a nice wee mare for Regan Todd.
Yep. Better knuckle up, beat Chase a Dream. Awesome win. Really, another one of this, because they've got so many of these horses, they fly under the radar, don't they?
Didn't see this happening either until about the 200 metre mark. I could probably not have put enough money on Chase the Dream after about 400 metres of this race.
Yep.
And the confidence levels just grew and grew and grew and grew till Blair pulled him out, and there wasn't much left in the hurt locker. Now, I've got an issue here that I will hear. We are doing a wonderful job here in New Zealand of setting up these great races, like the Velocity and the Ascent. But we've got to get better at ensuring there are suitable lead-up races for these horses to be fit and ready to go. Now, I'm not saying that Chase the Dream was a run short, but he hadn't raced since he won the Group 1 Flying Stakes, which I'm going to say was the 11th of October. He wasn't eligible for the race at Ashburton.
Yep.
There wasn't a race for him at Kaikoura. Well, sorry, there was a race for him at Ashburton and there was a race for him at Kaikoura. But they were the Flying Stakes and the Kaikoura Cup. Now, a 3-year-old pacer should not have to line up against the Cup horses.
Yep.
I know Cole Chisel did. And what happened to Cole Chisel was
great to see.
A little bit of
that he's recovering too. So that part's
100%. Now, there should have been a 3-year-old free-for-all race put on somewhere. Now, I understand that there was a discussion held about having one at Rangiora on the Friday before Cup Week. That's too close, for one. There should have been something somewhere where those horses could have gone and had a race. And, you know, even the fact that Cole Chisel had to go and race in the Flying Stakes and the Spring Cup up north just means that we're not quite getting the lead-in programs to these big races right yet. And we've got some work to do there. And Brad Steele won't mind me saying that because they are open that there are improvements that need to be made. And that is one of them. It needs to happen.
If you can put it somewhere where there's a mile race, so Ashburton over a mile, because this goes back to your 2,000 metres. So your exposed form has still got question marks, if you like. You've got another 400 metres to go, barrier draws come into play and things along those lines. You don't want to ruin punting. I'm not all about punting, but, I mean, the game is about punting and driving the dollar. I 100% agree. The flip side of that is no one had seen him. No one had seen Chase the Dream. So you've got...
No, well, he stepped out at the trials the week before, but...
Trials are trials.
Nothing more than a run up the straight. Yeah, it's an interesting one. He underperformed on the day. There's nothing, and that's not taking anything away from the performance of Ben and Knuckle Up either, because he was simply too good on the day. Zachary Butcher, Barry Purdon, Scott Phelan, they're made for races like slot races, quite clearly, given the success they've had with Merlin and Better Knuckle Up this year. Wonderful performance. Harrison John was really good. Jeremiah, solid enough. Thought He's From Heaven was good. And if he's staying for the Derby, the 2,600 metres of the New Zealand Derby is really going to suit him.
Yeah, I thought he was disappointing. Greg said the same thing. Greg was actually happy with him last night on the show. He said, and because of his run at the minute, he's staying for the Derby. So, yeah, which was interesting to see that. Gold Bull.
Oh, I can't let that race go, Paul.
Oh.
Renegade is going to get a barrier draw one day, and it's going to win a big race.
Coastal Babe, I thought was okay too, being the only filly. It probably showed out, and it might be one of those things that might hold people back from picking fillies next year unless they are exceptional.
Yeah, 100%. Then again, I mean, probably in the pacing, it's a bit different than the trotting, I suppose, isn't it? Yeah. Unless you've got a Millwood Nike or something like that in your arsenal that you can, It's a tricky one because you'd like to think that they effectively run the same speeds most of the time, but that toughness that you need to be able to win is a bit different, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah, no, a bit brutal. Gold Bullion, Matty White had one of those sort of weeks, but Bobby Butt, Masterly was terrific. It was an interesting little race, this one. It was interesting, the timing, I thought, too, when to put it. I don't know what else you could have put on there, but it just seemed a little bit of an empty spot, if you like, between good races.
Yeah, I reckon they had to have that gap, but I probably would have put the South of the Waitaki race there, but that's just me. Gold Bullion's a nice horse. Obviously, Bob had him nominated for the Dominion. He's doing a good job. Father Patrick again. There's a bit of Father Patrick resurgence coming on at the moment. Obviously, a great result for Davey and Kath Butt, who run Birchbrook Breeding, because they bred Gold Bullion, but they also own and bred Masterly, who ran second in the race.
Didn't notice that until you said that. As you were saying, Birchwood, I just saw that. So, yeah, well done to those guys. Radio, the free-for-all, Allied Securities, New Zealand free-for-all. This, I thought, what a fast this is halfway through. This was a terrible race in a way. That mid-sections just didn't live up to the hype. I'm not sure what happened. And then, Merlin was outstanding. Better Eclipse was terrific. Catch a Wave was terrible. I think, like all the hype around him about how good he was in the New Zealand Cup and that, I thought he was terrible when you get sectionals like that. And he was one of the first horses beaten. I know he's ran third, but he was never going to win.
Geez, you're tough. I thought he was super.
Do you?
Yeah. It's a tricky one. Like,
he's
been beaten by a horse that won the race by Grins this year.
Yep.
And was touted as a horse, and I know he didn't see out the 3,200 metres, but touted as a horse that could win the New Zealand Cup. Better Eclipse, well, we know how much of an opportunist sort of horse he is. It's probably not the first time he's beaten Catch a Wave, and it probably won't be the last time he's beaten him because things have worked out nicely. He's only been beaten less than a length and a half by a horse that cleared away and won by a length and a quarter. So he's effectively, put it this way, Paul, if he runs second, say Better Eclipse doesn't beat him home by a nose and he runs second, it's a good performance, isn't it? You're just beaten by a better horse on the day.
Ran a 62 middle half, fast class horses. I'll throw this one back at you. So Merlin doesn't stay the 3,200, yet he comes around and breezes outside of him and puts him to the sword with 400 to go. Better Eclipse is an opportunist, but wasn't driven like an opportunist. Don't worry when you get to the winning post and he's 1-1. He actually worked out of the gate and posied up outside of him. He drove outside of his comfort zone. For mine, Catch a Wave should have won that race. It was there for him to win. I just think he was very plain. And he does that. Don't get me wrong. I don't know where he is, if he's in New Zealand or he's coming back to Australia. He might win next week. He's an enigma of a horse. I don't know how people back him and I don't know how people tip him, but he just didn't perform at his best in New Zealand.
I think that first 200 metres might have had a bit of an impact on the last 200 metres.
Yep.
What you've got at play there is David Butcher, who's one of the best gate drivers in the country, who really made him made Kate work to get around him. So, I mean, I can understand where you're coming from. I probably wasn't that disappointed with him, but yeah, nice to have him there. Great to see him there. Yeah.
I think he's great for racing. I just, if you put your Intane hat on or the TAB, I don't think he's great for the turnover sometimes, but he might be. He might be one of those horses they say, today's his day. He is a funny wee horse.
Are you going to play this race?
You want me to?
There's a couple of points that probably should be talked about. The first one's at the start.
So the race we're just watching?
The New Zealand free-for-all.
Yeah, that's okay. Rightio. Yep. It's here and it's up. There you are.
Right. John Morrison, 2 from the outside on the second row. Franco Merritt was given no chance.
Yep.
Watch this story.
1-1.
Just shows you that there's no such thing as a bad barrier draw if you're prepared to ever go. And obviously it helped that he drew behind Catch a Wave, but, he's given a 300-1 chance, the 1-1 behind Better Eclipse. Obviously he ends up being 1 out, 3 back. So now if you scroll forward to about the 600-metre mark, and this is important as we lead to the Inter-Dominion. So Tack McLeod's 4 back the fence here. Yep. Franco Merritt's just shoved Cameron Hart 3 wide, 4 wide for a bit. So John's got onto the back of the Falcon there, which has given him a 1-1 cart home. Tack McLeod's hopped off the fence to the inside. And at this point, you probably would have got 500-1 to 1,000-1 for those two to finish top 5, given that things hadn't quite panned out well. You've got Republican Party held up. Just watch the last 200 metres of Tack McLeod. So he's in the grey and yellow colours, Sam Otley's white helmet there. So he's held up, still on the back. And his last 100 metres here.
Yep.
As it was Franco Merritt's.
Yep.
Were very, very good. And people will look at Tech McLeod and go, oh, well, he didn't beat much in the lead up to the Cup. But I think I'll be careful how I say this, but I think he goes over to the Inter-Dominions as a serious contender to win it. There you go.
I don't disagree, because I think we spoke about him quite a few times, because when he got the golden ticket, it wasn't a fluke, because he franked that form next week. So he's been in terrific form for a long time. They've really got that ticking over beautifully. And go from there. Whenever you want a video, you just tell me. I'll just do it. I do as I'm told, mate. You know.
That's what I do. Yeah.
Smoke on the water in the last.
Yeah, he deserved that. He's been running some super races. Obviously, was in the Hannah Memorial, where he's really unlucky, and really good in races like the Methven Cup, etc., etc. Beautiful drag into it. Well summed up drive from Matty Williamson. There were some disappointing performances in there. Thought Da Vinci was pretty average. Vesson was really average. Charlie Brown was brave, but Southeast Rock run 2 really good races on Cup week for Tyler Dew. I know he only runs 7th or 8th on Tuesday, but he actually wasn't that far away from them. And he was super there. Smoke on the water deserved that win, so it was good for Matt Purvis.
Yep, absolutely. And Matty Williamson as well. Got a winner. Do we have anything else? Because the one-word answers or the one-line answers for those horses, that evaporated pretty quick, but I don't care. I've never been one to worry. Anything else? Was there anything at Winton on the weekend?
Saw a couple of nice horses go around on Sunday. Always Dreaming, of course, is a 2-year-old from Nathan Williamson's stable. He is the full brother to Don't Stop Dreaming.
Yep.
And he looks every bit like him. If you want to see a nice horse and you're in the market for a nice horse and you like Always Be Mickey's, race 4, Always Be Elvis is a horse that if you're looking for one.
Is this a for sale?
I presume it's for sale. Everything's got a price pool. Very, very impressive fresh up win. And I say fresh up in the ultimate sense. No trials, no workouts since December last year. Big, beautiful, rangy stunner. Yeah. He's a bit dumb. So the horse in the trail actually runs up to him and momentarily looks like he's got to beat him. But Brett Barclay sort of gets his mind back on the job and he starts to draw away again and he turns the whip about here.
Wow.
In the flesh, he was very, very impressive. And it was only a maiden at Winton on a Sunday, I know, but he could furnish into quite a nice horse in time.
Always Be Elvis. I'll tell you what, one thing, start following.
Actually out of a very good family that goes back to Tupelo Rose.
Oh, yeah.
Etc. So, the dam's actually out of Tupelo Rose.
Right.
So it is a pretty good family. And this horse looks like one who could end up going on and doing a pretty good job.
The Douglas has had a pretty good day. Hayden get a double? Did he get a double?
No, Jeremy.
Jeremy got a double.
Hayden's father trained a double. Hayden drove one of them. Nathan Williamson had a double. And Brian Norman and J.W. Cox had doubles as well as a training and driving partnership. Sherwood Maggie for Brian Norman. What a wonderful year she's been. I think she's won 9 races now and close to 100 grand. Most of them have probably been in that 35 to 40 rating band.
Rightio, big week coming up. Where are you sitting? You're sitting in the prime seat. I've got to say, hang on, back if people are still watching, that coverage is outstanding. Unfortunately, as Aussies, we were a little bit robbed. You had to watch it on Trot's Vision on the Friday. The Tuesday coverage, they had the Sky International, so we got to see the whole lot, and it was awesome. Then we had to go to Trot's Vision, and people say, Trot's Vision. But unfortunately, with Trot's Vision, it's a web browser, so you have to have good service. And trying to walk around the farm here and your service just gets a bit sketchy. You just dropped out. So it was a little bit hard to be able to do 2 things at once. But the coverage was outstanding. I think what they were able to do, learning what I said, not learning, but doing different things, going to the stables. Greg O'Connor is, he's a good-looking rooster. There's no problems there, but we don't need to see his face on the screen the whole time. Seeing these horses, seeing them being harnessed up, as you said there before, the stuff with Swayze. Every time you looked up on the camera, there was a picture of Swayze or video of Swayze and harnessing him up and people talking and that. It just gets people involved. You couldn't turn the camera away a lot of the time, which is what you want.
Yeah, and we're really lucky, obviously, in pain of really pumped some money into the production of big meetings and all meetings in general, to be fair. We probably underappreciate just how lucky we are sometimes with the harness coverage that we can get. But that's driven by good people both on the screen and behind the cameras and in the director studios, etc. And long may it continue, drone footage, those sort of things. I think the only thing I want to see back is cameras on drivers on the odd driver in each race, so you can get that bird's eye view after the race as well, because that can be some great footage. But yeah, really up the game. It's a huge week. To put it in perspective, that trackside crew, we're going Riccarton on a Saturday, Addington Tuesday, back to Riccarton Wednesday, Ashburton Thursday for 14 races, back to Addington on Friday, pack up, then back to Riccarton on Saturday. And then some of them turned up at Winton on Sunday as well. So huge week. And Trackside is the largest producing channel of live TV in New Zealand by any stretch when you think about it. So very lucky to have it, and long may it continue.
No, absolutely. And I'm not a fan of drone footage. Kiwis are very good at your split screens. Maybe a split screen with the drone footage. I don't know if it'd work or not. But the flip side of that is when you watch Masterplace leading from the outside the front, and you're watching that, it's phenomenal to see how those horses do take off. I think it gets boring, especially for us race goers, when it's 1, 2, and 3 on the fence are your first, second, and third horses. It does get a bit pedestrian. But when something happens, or like you just said then, Johnny Morrison's drive, outstanding when you can actually witness those from the overhead shot and be able to see them. It's breathtaking.
Absolutely. And the drone footage, I'm neither here nor there. I prefer it after the race because I think it gives you some great insights, particularly that first 150, 200 metres, and then maybe the last 150, 200 metres as well, because there's obviously a bit of jostling going on there. So it's got its place. We've just got to figure out where that place is, I think.
Yeah, no, couldn't agree more. Matty, thank you. Probably be no show next week because I'm going to Dolby to do a camp draft. We'll see how we go. We'll see how things transpire. But thank you. I really do appreciate it. I have to get Ken Brecken or Woodlands. Do you not know the person at Woodlands? She's maybe we might be able to work something there.
She doesn't answer my phone calls either. That's all right. I will just continue to be sponsored by Kimberly Butt and Johnny Cox with the nice hoodie that they got me from Hambo Day.
It's an old one, though.
No, Hambo 99. So the 99th running of the Hambletonian, not the 1999 Hambo. I did say the same thing when they gave it to me too. But
I was going to say this. I was thinking the same thing. I thought they got that out of the cheap basket. That's what they did there. Whose hat are you wearing?
Oh, just one I found.
Oh, that's all right. Don't mind your cheese cutters. It's all good. But no, thank you. Really do appreciate it. We'll try and get back on the straight and narrow a bit and promote some of these people. We like finding all the stories out. But, really appreciate it. Some pretty big breaking news with an Inter-Dominion late payment, which is cool. It means the Inter-Dominion's still on the radar for the Kiwis too, so I appreciate that. Matty, thank you. Really appreciate it, mate.
No worries, mate.